Hello there friends, I think we're turned on now. Welcome to today's Sunday Tea Time live stream, live as always from Nottingham in England. I'm back. It's been a few months since I was last here, so it's good to be back. It's been a long time coming. Hope you're all out there and well and can hear me and see everything working quite well, because it's been a long time since we've done a live stream. Since the last one, I've reinstalled the streaming software. Hopefully I've got everything set up okay, but I'm sure you'll let me know if not. Just pop on a bit of background music there. Hopefully it's not too loud for us. Please do come say hello in the chat. Let me know who's out there and what you're all up to today. Especially if it's your first time here, let me know where you heard about the stream and where you're from. And if you are new to these streams, welcome. My name is Darren, and today I'm going to work on an animation for an upcoming tutorial video. And I want a few small animations for it, and wanted to work on them on the stream, so I thought I'd do that on this first stream publicly today, but we'll chat more about that later on. So let's just see who's with us so far today. I see a few names already flying by and popping up. So we've had Maria come nice and early. Hello Maria, welcome to the stream. Good to have you with us again today. Rover259 Wild, welcome back. It's been a long time since we've seen you. How are you doing? Oreo, hello, welcome. Thank you for the welcome from yourself. Good to have you here today. And we've got Nullval. Hello there, Nullval. Good to have you here. Elite Energy. Hello there. Hope you're full of energy. I'm ready to do some animation today. I know I am. Nullval's running an errand, so watching and listening on mobile. Hello there. Well, hopefully the connection will stay with us today. So I've got a big old animation plan to work on today, at least the first part, but as I say, we'll talk about that shortly in more detail. I did want to mention one small thing that some of you may be aware of, and that's that the next version of OpenToonz, version 1.7, is nearly upon us. The release candidate has been released already, which you can download from the OpenToonz downloads page, and it's in the place where normally the nightly build would be. So feel free to install that and check if there's any bugs or anything that stands out immensely wrong. Report the bug and that'll get fixed in the next week or two. But there's not too many show-stopping bugs, then 1.7 should be out in a couple of weeks, and I'll let you know when that is. I'll drop a tweet out, mention it on Discord, as well as making a video to highlight some of my favourite features since the last version. Titus Penn, good morning, welcome, glad to have you with us today. Rover259 Wilds, working on a test puppet animation. Not for a project, just for practice. That's fair enough. You need to work on some test projects first off before you get to the ones you use in your main animations. It can take a good practice to work out the best way to set up your puppet and to animate with it, and how to set up your puppet, whether to do a full-blown whole puppet for the whole character or just puppeteer some small parts of your character. The T-Rex School from Jurassic Park Roaring. Yes, great idea. That sounds like without it sounding wrong, a pretty simple way to start, with just sort of one connection of the mouth opening and then closing, potentially attached to the neck as well. So there's less to piece together, but a lot to learn from that simple practice, and then build up to a larger version. So I've been teasing a little bit. Oh, just before I do. Ah, Maria, yes. Is this for your animation you've been sharing on the Discord server? Where you've been confusing yourself completely, switching from a point of view from head on to overhead and losing your sense of up, down and the side of the eye. I know what you mean. Under the head with a character looking up. Yes, absolutely. I think for those sort of confusions, especially if it's a character you're confused with, what I've seen people do, and I need to get into practice a bit more myself, what I've seen people do is to really oversimplify your character. So if it's the head, then draw it as a box shape, and then you can see it drawn from underneath where you see some of the neck and chin, and then moving down where you see the top part of the head to the sides of the head. So try practicing your animation on a separate level, a test level, just with the box in those angles perhaps, but it's really tricky. And it's something that I want to sort of plan out over the next few weeks for myself, to really have a good chunk of time to work on anatomy and character drawing. And I was thinking the other day of needing to almost come up with a 5-year plan for myself. And people always say a 5-year plan to plan out, whether it's your career or your hobbies or what have you. But a way to think, how am I going to get to where I need to be able to animate how I want to animate? So I was thinking by the end of this year, I may have started on some character animation or character drawing and design, moving through to next year for animation or whatever I need to do. So I'm going to put that together, I think, in the next few weeks. And I've been thinking about that recently with some of the work I've been doing. And this is why, as I said in my video on Friday, that I've taken the Sundays off from live streaming to give me time to think about other things and to work on other projects. And this past couple of weeks, I've spent quite a bit of time working on my next OpenToonz course. So I've been scripting lots of lessons, planning it out, rearranging and working out the best way to present what I want to present. And I'll give more details of that in the near future, especially for my Patreon supporters. I plan to put a post out for that, so keep an eye on the Patreon emails coming through. But for everybody else, I'll be sharing that at some point anyway. So while working on this course, I've been thinking about when I'm going to record it and when I'm going to release it, and then move on to the next project outside of the Friday videos and live streams. So yes, I'll be putting a plan together for that, including this character design, and some of that I suspect I'll be doing on live streams, so keep your ears open. I'll be letting you know about that. KKC Central, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here today. Great to see lots of old names and new joining us today. Yes, I see. The girl at the fountain. Yeah, it's really, really useful to have the change of angle as you're doing. You've been putting lots of that in recently, I know, which has been recommended by Ferdinand, I believe. He suggested a similar thing to me, to change the camera angle, not keep it so static or so samey. So again, that's something I need to work on too. Yeah, look forward to seeing that on what you come up with that. So again, please do keep posting it on the Discord. I enjoy seeing it. I know other people do, to see your progress, so thank you for that. Rover 259, Wild, the T-Rex skull roaring, inspired by the Lost World Jurassic Park video game intro. Yes, absolutely. Again, please do for yourself share what you've put together and learned on the Discord. It'd be great to see what you've been working on and how that's going for you, and almost especially if it goes wrong. So if you don't quite get what the outcome you achieve, please do share that and let us know how you're going to change it to make it work better the next time. I think it's useful for us all to see how people overcome problems and different situations that we might get into ourselves. I can see on my notification screen on the side that there's a small issue with the streaming software, so there might be some buffering. Do let me know how that's going. I may need to change the settings, as I say, either for later on today or for another day for the next stream. So today, as always, I'm powered by a lovely mug of tea. Speaking of tea, if you enjoy the stream and what I do here on the channel, do feel free to treat me to a little coffee or a cup of Darren Tea anytime you like. Links are down in the description below for this and in my other videos. So, what are we working on today? Let me reveal what today's project is all about, because I've been deliberately vague in my video on Friday, and I've talked about coming back for live streaming on the Discord server as well. So this all stems from a couple of months ago. I had a question on one of my YouTube videos from a viewer asking if you could use OpenToons to create the sort of stop motion style animations created by Terry Gilliam that you saw in the Monty Python TV programs a million years ago, especially for some of you young ones there. And the simple answer is yes, you can. And that's kind of where I'm going to with today's stream. And I know that some of you won't know what these style of animations are, or if you did see them today and you didn't know them, you might think they look a bit old-fashioned, or maybe you don't like the style. But the idea intrigued me. So I decided to make a video showing how you could create this style of animation, not as stop motion, but in OpenToons as animation in the main program. Now, I've tried to make videos showing how you can use OpenToons for lots of different styles of animation, so this seemed like another ideal video to make just to show how flexible the program is to create a different style of animation. So today's stream's here for two main reasons. First, I want to try out my ideas that I've got to see how well they work and if I can learn something new about how you could best create this style of animation. And secondly, I want to create a couple of animations to play as part of the video, the tutorial video. So that's what I'm going to start on today. Got a question here just come through from Rover259 Wild asking how you make lighting, especially for torches or street lights and headlights. I actually made a video to demonstrate one of these. Let me just find that for you. Rover259 Wild, are you on my Discord server? Just trying to find a link to that video for you to share with you. I know you can't share links over on the chat, but I think I can, so I should be okay. No problem, I should be able to share it in the chat here. Let me just find that video for you. One way to find it, just incidentally, if you go to the Darren Tea YouTube channel and look at the actual channel page, scroll down a little bit, you'll see a playlist of special effects. Things are going a little bit slow, so I'm just finding that. Here it is. Okay. So in that playlist, you'll find this video here. So feel free to take a look at that later. But here's the link here in the chat, as well as some other effects to use. So this shows how to do the basic glow to apply to a torch style effect. But there's a few different ways you can create and use the effect to create different kinds of lighting. So this is one way to get started. Let me, in fact, also pop it on the Discord server in case people want to look back at that later on. So I was trying to check on this. Hen the Pen, hello, welcome back. Good to see you. I just spotted the extra cartoon you'd uploaded. Just before I went live. I saw it on there. I've not watched it yet. I've enjoyed the first three, so thank you for sharing those on there. Are you working on another? Excellent. Yeah, please do keep sharing them. Having a bit of a problem getting to the background music. I'm going to pop that on and get that running as well while I'm here, so bear with me while I try and do that. So let me just bring this screen down as well, and I'll be able to show you what I've done so far. Here we go, let's get some little bit of music in the background. I'm using a website called Pretzel Rocks, but they've changed the style of it a little bit. Let's try this one. Just see if this will come through. And it's buffering and buffering. Okay, that's be coming through in the background now? Yes, okay. Again, if it's too loud, do let me know and I'll sort that out. So first, I made a little animation to test the look of these style of animations from the Monty Python. Let me open up OpenToons here. So I found this photo, this old lady online, and changed the colouring of it to try and emulate that kind of style that you saw. I added a bit of jerky movement to the body as she was talking, recorded a silly little bit of a voice sample, and then added a bit of lip sync. And the lip sync in quotes just because it's kind of a Muppet style lip sync rather than being accurate. He created lots of animations with characters talking like this, cut out photographs. I just moved the mouth up and down in time with the speech. So let me hit play on that.
Hello, I'm testing lip sync.
Now you don't necessarily need to hear what she's saying, but you can see the gist of how she moves, how the mouth moves. It's cut off at the bottom of the screen there, so imagine that's not cut off. But just, again, it's an experiment just to get a feel for how you might create this sort of animation. Enyo-san, hello, welcome. Good to have you back. It's been a very long time. It seems absolutely months. I know it was just before Christmas, November or so, I was last here streaming. Great to be back. I do miss the Sunday streams. I really do. They kept me focused on creating some animation every week, and every week I learned something new and I got slightly better and more comfortable with animating with different styles. Unfortunately, I'm not bringing them back for every week here publicly on YouTube. I will be back from time to time, and again, keep your eyes open on YouTube. So do, again, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe and press that bell button to be notified of when I go live, or watch out on Twitter and Discord. I'll also share it on there. Yes, that's right, Robert. South Park was originally paper cutout, and then when they went digital, they recreated that kind of cutout look, which is kind of what we're doing here, but it's aimed really towards the visual style of the Monty Python. We've got Double O there. Hello, Double O. Welcome back. Good to have you here. Glad you found me again. I wasn't sure how many people would hear about me coming back on live. I wanted to make the announcement video on Friday, as well as shouting about it on Twitter and Discord. So I wasn't sure how many would come. So it's great to have quite a few of you here today. I'm doing very well, thanks. Really doing very well. Oh, springtime sniffle from Maria. Yeah, it gets all of us, I guess, this time of year. So this is the first animation example playing I did with, and it went quite well. I was really happy with how it went as smoothly as I expected, giving me kind of the results that I was hoping for. So I was really happy with that, and this gave me an urge to carry on to try and recreate some more of this style of animation. And for those that's interested, I did actually share this animation, some words about it, over on my Instagram account. So if you want to see any of these kind of small test animations that I make as I go along, then do join me over there, and the link's down below in the description if you want to take a look. So the second thing I did, once I was happy with creating this kind of look for these animations, was I created a storyboard for the first animation that I actually wanted to put together to use in my tutorial video that's coming up in a few weeks. And what the storyboard is for, let me show you the original, is I want to kind of recreate a similar video to the introduction of Monty Python. So for those of you that don't know Monty Python, let me bring that up here and I'll play this through. You're not wrong, Enyo-san. You bring up a comment there. The AI storm really has been developing. Yes, it's come out of nowhere, hasn't it? It came through from ChatGPT for textual conversations through to creating artwork, references and videos, all from AI. Yeah, it's come out of nowhere and it's quite a big thing. I was asked a question yesterday about AI, what I thought about it and what its place is in the future of artwork. And just to repeat that briefly, for me, I think AI is a really good tool for referencing. I think it could be a really great idea to be able to create a reference that suits exactly what you want for your situation. So if you're creating an animation based in a rocket of a science fiction cartoon, you can ask to create internals of a rocket ship. You can get an image back and then request, can you make it more science fiction-y? Can you make it more silver looking? Can you add more dials, more windows, or whatever you need to create exactly what you want to see, and then use that as a reference to draw your actual rocket ship that you want. But the problem for me is where people are using AI to create artwork that they're passing off as their own, and that is where it kind of gets a bit tricky and where it's difficult. And as I said yesterday, it's putting the genie back in the bottle. Now that Pandora's box is open, just to mix my metaphors, it's all available for everybody to use. So we'll have to see what happens with AI and how we can somehow ensure that people using AI aren't passing it off as work of their own. I love War of the Worlds, Rover. One of my favourite stories, favourite films. So yeah, that's a great thing to get into. Create a kind of cartoon style version of that. The 1953 version, the original, the best version. Still stands up today, I think. If you take a step back from some of the dialogue. Pretty good, I do like it. Okay, so let's play this through. Let me pause that music for a second. So here's the original that I'm basing my animation today on. For those of you that have one particular series of Monty Python, but it's the first part of that really that I want to work on today. So let's play one more time for those of you that haven't seen it before.
Monty Python, the Flying Circus.
So I'll stop it there, because what I want to do is really the first part of the animation where the flowers grow up and bring out the text. There is kind of where I want to build up to, with different text shown on screen, just to kind of give you an introduction to the video. So to help me with that, I drew a bit of a storyboard for myself. So let me bring that on screen now. Sergeant Pepper, yes. I mean, I'd not really thought about it until I just heard it then and you mentioning it. But I guess I might need to do a bit of a voiceover myself for the introduction, which I won't record today. But it really is just the introduction I'm kind of interested in, to try and simulate that movement and that look for this particular animation. But then in coming weeks, I want to also create another couple of animations, but we'll get to that in a second. So how I've created this, let's just start off with the basics. I'd like to run through this. It could be useful for some of you creating storyboards. If I go to a blank frame first, here we go, so you can see what I did. The first thing I did, I want to mention a small bit of self-promotion, just a small bit, that I used my drawing guides to create this 3x3 grid here on the screen. For those of you that haven't seen the drawing guide, I've got a separate video describing how I created these and how I put them into OpenToons. And you can create different layouts for different numbers of squares and lines and guides on here. But a simple 3x3 grid, just to split the screen into 9 spaces. And if you take a look at the down in the description below, if you're interested in this at all, look at my Gumroad site, and you'll see a Gumroad page on that site there, where you can download these drawing guides for free, so you can install them yourself and use them in OpenToons. So if you're interested in having these extra guides yourself, do take a look at that. So then I drew over the lines within a separate level to create my frames. as you can see here. So I can now turn those off. So I've got this now, the lines in a separate level. And then I drew my progress in each frame for the storyboard, going from frame to frame, to build the layout of the text and the flowers, kind of the rough layout of where I want to put them all. You can copy and paste to duplicate the flowers between frames where necessary. And once I was happy, I duplicated that single drawing 8 more times from frames 2 to 9 here. And then I used the animate tool to position the frame to fill the whole camera view, so I could look at the progress from one frame to the next. So it starts off here with the flowers coming in on the left, growing out 2 together in order to say how to animate, another one saying like, and then one on the right, which is going to be more complicated for some overlay to then say Monty Python. So that's the main introduction frame, and I'll either leave it there and fade to the tutorial video, or my preference is to have the foot stomp animation coming in and squashing it with a at the end, just to finish it off before we start on the tutorial. So today I want to start the basic movement of the flowers and the text to get it on screen, and for that I'm planning to use the motion path feature to move the flower head along the path, the matte effects to expose the line of the stem behind the flower. The leaves will just appear as they do in the original. And then also I want to get the flowers as images and change the colour to match the sort of look and feel that we have here in this original. So they've got the bright single colour, the red and blue colours there, rather than realistic colours. And that's to try and get the style similar, but I've not found those images yet. That's the first thing we'll be looking at. Natraj, hello, welcome. Good to see you with us today. Glad to have you back again. How are you doing today? Not seen you for a long time. I've not been live for a long time. Kurt Cobain, hello, welcome to you. Good to have you here today. And we've got Munka, hello. Good afternoon to you, Munka. Good to have you here. Lovely tea. I enjoyed your latest video, Munka, comparing OpenToonz and Critter. Try and create the same sort of animation to test both programs against each other. Really interesting to see. And as I said in my comment, I've not used the animation tools in Critter myself yet, but I have seen them being used, and they look kind of straightforward, but a bit different to OpenToonz. And I'm still in two minds of whether to try it out just to compare them. But I kind of just like using OpenToonz, so I'll probably stick with this longer term. On coffee, good choice for you, but for me, tea all the way, I'm afraid. So today, I want to mention the stream, as I said at the beginning, is public for anyone to come and join here on YouTube. And I plan to get, or hope to get, most of the first part of this animation completed today. And then from next week, I'll be completing it on other live streams, but these will be just for my Patreon supporters. That's those on the Tea Mug and Teapot tiers. As an extra thank you for your support. So if you're interested in taking a look at that, please do take a look at my Patreon page. Let me just show you it here. And there's 3 membership levels. There's the teacups, the tea mugs, and the teapots, and you get different rewards for each level. And it's the tea mug and teapots I'll be streaming for next week or for the next couple of weeks. I do plan to come back and stream live publicly here on YouTube from time to time, but I kind of want to make sure I've got plenty of rewards for the Patreon supporters that are paying their hard-earned money over to me and to the channel. So I want to make sure I kind of keep enough to the side to them. So I'll have a mix of public as well as Patreon live streams. So public today and Patreon next week. So do take a look at that and see if it's something you're interested in getting the rewards that's there. But do remember that if you do decide to join me over on Patreon, that you're in control. You decide what tier you want to join. You can move between tiers from one month to the next, so you can drop down or come up a tier for a month to try it out. And you can change tiers and cancel at any time. It's all in your hands. So I hope some of you can join me next week as I finish off this animation that I'll work on today. And if you can't join me live, the stream will be recorded, so you can always rewatch it later if you're not available at the time. So that's the plan for today. I'm starting this animation today, get things moving. I also want to use some of what I do today, some of what I make today in the video, the tutorial video where I'll cover how to create this style of animation in brief. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking the camera off so you won't see me, you just see OpenToonz on screen. And then I'll record that and then I can use parts of that in with the tutorial video as I put it together. So that's what I'll be doing today. But before I do, I'm going to take myself a 5-minute break, stretch my legs, get myself ready to get drawing. I'll be turning the camera off and I'll be back shortly to continue with this, and then we'll get started creating this animation. So I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. See you then. and welcome back. Hope you managed to get yourself a fresh cup of tea and stretch your legs out. As you can see, I'm here on my screen, but with the camera turned off, so I can record this and use it in my videos later. Just to answer a couple of points on here, Rover 259 Wild, the DPI setting was taken out of Tahoma 2D just to make it simpler. Most people don't need DPI when they're drawing. They're more interested in the pixel size of their drawings and the characters in the background, so you don't need to use the DPI. And Kurt Cobain's asking about using a JPEG picture in OpenToons. When you've uploaded it, OpenToons stops working. The main thing to consider when adding JPEG images or any image to OpenToons is to not have any numbers in the name. Have a very simple name just with text characters, because OpenToons looks for numbers to decide if it should be part of an image sequence, and it can get confused, unfortunately. It shouldn't do, and it's something that should be looked into and fixed at some point perhaps, but potentially there could be a reason why it's needed, but it does make it break from time to time. So just keep simple names in your drawings and you're more likely to be able to upload them successfully. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to create a new project. So let's get myself over to OpenToons here. Here we are. So we'll create a new project. I'll create a documents folder. Well, I've got OpenToons in my documents folder away from the OpenToons stuff folder, and that's so that when I update OpenToons I can just delete the stuff folder, start with a fresh install, and then all my animation projects are in my documents separate from the settings. So let's create a new project here that I'll call Monty Python Demo. Okay, I'll create a new scene, and I plan to try and do something that I experimented with the example animation I showed earlier, and that's having a separate scene to first create my images, or use the photos and cut them up as like a workspace desk area. Imagine the traditional way of doing stop motion for these sort of cutout characters is you'd get the photograph, you cut it out of the magazine, you colour it in, draw anything extra on top, and then use it in your animation. I want to try the same here. So I'm going to just create a scene name called Images, nice and simple. And that's where we'll put our images first before we start to animate them. So Kurt's asking me to explain the difference between OpenToons and Tahoma, and I'll be very brief with that. OpenToons is the main source code, the main program that we're all using. Tahoma was created as a branch from OpenToons to be able to add features different to the main OpenToons program. The main reason is to make a simpler program with fewer on-screen controls and fewer things you can change and settings you can change that could break the program. So it's a much simpler program to work with. It's got a few extra features been put into there. I can't remember what all of them are. One of them is the perspective tools. There's some perspective lines you can add in there to help drawing backgrounds. Can be really useful for that. The stop motion tools are amazing in Tahoma. I'd always use Tahoma for stop motion, and that allows you to use your webcam for stop motion as well, rather than just a specific Canon camera. So it's worth doing for that. So Tahoma certainly has a few extra features, but there's people working on OpenToons and Tahoma, so they do different features, but they swap between both programs from time to time. So lots of features added to OpenToons are ported over to Tahoma and vice versa. So they're both slightly different programs, essentially the same program. For most of us, 99% of the features we need are in both programs, so it won't matter which one you use. OpenToons you install as a standard program to install onto your system. Tahoma is a portable version of the program, so you download a zip file and you can just unzip it and run it from wherever it is. So it can be handy to put on a USB stick perhaps, and then you can carry it from home, to school, to a friend's house, and use a program from the USB stick and save your projects on there. So it's good for portability. But both programs are pretty much the same in terms of features. Hello there, it's Froggy. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you here today. No such thing as late. You just started at a different time to us. Good to have you here. Yeah, I mean, for cutout puppetry, for the style of animation I'm going for, you could easily just use, literally using the stop motion features of Tahoma or OpenToonz, but Tahoma really for this, and have cut out piece of paper. But I want to cut out digitally and see how we get on today. So I've got my scene ready to put my images into. So let's go straight to Google and let's find the image to use. I've not downloaded the images yet. I'm starting totally from scratch. So let's search in here for rose. Go to the image search page and find a picture of a rose that matches this kind of a look. Even though these are hand-drawn images, I want to use a photo and try and manipulate it for that to see how that works first. We can always change how that looks later. So they start off closed. So if I come back a little bit, there we go. We've got two together. So you can see a closed rose at the bottom right here and the open ones at the top with the words coming out. So look for a closed one first. If I type closed petals, if I can spell, that would help. See if we get one that it is closed. That's the kind of view I want. Perfect. I'm going to take that licensable image. Let's take a look at it first. Open image in a new tab. Quite small though, onto the larger resolution ones. Let's look at similar images down here. That's not too bad. Open the image in a new tab. Still quite small though. So we'll have a look a bit further to see if we can see one that we want in here. And then we use OpenToonz to change the colour and look of it. How about that one? That's a bit bigger, so I think we'll try that. So there's two ways you can do this. We can save that image to disk and then drag and drop it into the program, as we was talking about earlier. It is a JPEG image, so it will just add itself into the program. In fact, should we do both ways so you can see exactly how that works? So we'll right click and choose Save Image As. I'll go to my downloads folder and I'll call this Rose Dash. In fact, as I just said before, keep the name as simple as possible. Definitely no numbers, and I won't use any hyphens or dots. So Rose closed, just using letters, and hit save. That's now saved, and I've got a downloads folder already here. So there's the image. Let's go to OpenToonz and open both windows together. No, I don't use DaVinci Resolve. I use a program called Shortcut for editing my videos. So click and drag and just drop it into the program. We'll choose import to take a local copy in the project folder. And there's that rose. And let's go back to find an open rose. So just put in the word rose. And open the image in a new tab. Lots of flowers in there. I don't want the leaves in here. It's just the head, but it's a lovely layout of the head. So we'll use that. That's a really good one. So the second way to get images into OpenToonz is to just copy them through the copy buffer of your program. So in Windows, if you hold the Windows key, the Shift key and S, the whole screen goes slightly dark. You can then click and drag a rectangle around your drawing. And when you release, that's copied to your copy buffer. I can go to OpenToonz, create a new raster level, a standard raster level. Okay, let's move that to the side by clicking the top bar of the box, and then press Ctrl V to paste it into the view here. And now that's part of this standard raster level. Now there's a couple of reasons you might do one way or the other. This is now in a raster level. If I open the time not the timeline, sorry, the level strip. This is a standard raster level that you can add other drawings to now, because I've created it in OpenToons. The other one is an imported raster level, so you can't add other drawings to this or duplicate them, which is what you might want to do to be able to create a copy or to erase parts or to make a change in some way. So ideally, you want to have both of them on a standard raster level. So what I'll do is I'll use the selection tool to highlight everything, press Ctrl C to copy, and then I'll go to the other raster level, press Alt D in the gap after the first drawing. That'll create a blank drawing. And I'm pressing Alt D because that's the option here for creating a blank drawing if you right click. So let's go back to the blank drawing and Control V. We've now got a copy of the rose drawing in the drawing level A that we've just created. Let's try again, Control V and then click away. There we go. So now we can use the selection tool. We can resize it any size we like within the area of that level. Whereas the original has got the limited box of where I copied the drawing from. So let me just Alt D again, do that again because I pressed undo. Paste it in there, click away and hit save. Now I've got those two drawings. I will delete the first original because I don't think I need that. Let me label it, hide it, unlock it so I can't do anything with it, so I've got a copy. Hello there, Tom. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to move these two drawings back to the left. I'm going to insert a new column or a new layer for you by pressing the insert key. So select the column header, press the insert key. I'll move drawing 2 down so both drawings are in frame 1. And I'll show one at a time. And then I can come in here and make the edits I want to make on this drawing. So what do you want to do for these two drawings? So we've got the closed and the open rows. So to make things easier, because these drawings were copied from an image, let's change the background color of the camera because they also had the images that had a background color of white. So from the XSheet scene settings, click on the camera background color, let's make that a slight blue color, and you can see that it's got a white box behind it that we don't want to use. Yes, Kurt, you can, absolutely. In lots of video style programs, you can add animation. But what I want to do is to demonstrate how you can use the different features of OpenToons to create this style of animation. You can do lots of these things in other places. I want to just feature how you can do it within the program here. Okay, so let's change this rows first. Let's erase the white areas. So we're using the normal style erasing mode. We've got the size quite large, so I can just erase around here and just colour this out. I don't want to use the leaves or the stem. Hitting save regularly in between so I don't lose anything here. There's no magic selection tool to select all of the whites here, so you have to erase it by hand. But what we can do is change the hardness of the eraser. It gives us a softer edge where we come up to the edge of a drawing like this. That's much better to erase with that. And then you don't get a hard white line or the edge of the rose coloured line here. Let's just quickly take all of this off. We can always come back and make any additional changes to this if we want to. And let me just flip this to the other side because my hand's in the way for erasing. So the button at the bottom of the viewer here, I can flip the drawing to the opposite side. So now I can erase from the right hand side where my hand can draw better and I can see better exactly what I'm erasing. I want it a little bit harder than that. It's quite soft there. It's giving me a bit of a fuzzy edge. No, really, Double O. I don't use a Mac. I know there was an issue with an iMac. Oh, I can't think what the number was now. There was a particular iMac where it did just always crash, and it just had an issue with working properly on it. So you could ask on the Discord server, see if there's anyone out there that can help out. Perhaps they've got a Mac themselves or they've read about the issue. But I'm afraid I can't help in any way on that. So I'll just get rid of all of this green on here. Doesn't need to be perfect. Oops, oh, I pressed it. The undo system in OpenTunes sometimes does that. So I'm going to close OpenTunes and start again. This is one of those things that happens from time to time in OpenTunes. Images level, let's see what we've got in here. Okay, let's start again. So that's the closed rows first. We'll put that into here, U and W. Right, that's still there in drawing number 2, good. Let's label these columns so I can see what I'm working on. This is the edited image first. Absolutely, Maria. Save early, save often. I was saving, that's why the rows is saved, but I seem to have lost the first drawing for some reason, so we'll go back and find that again. I'm going to take away this edge here, this darker line. So as I said in my video yesterday, the idea of today, and it is kind of for all streams really, is to show you what happens when you're working with OpenTunes, what you can do, what you can't do, but also to show problems like this. So if something happens and goes wrong, it does, and you'll get to see it and you'll see how I get around fixing it. So I'm going to paint over this white area. We've got a bit of a blob at the bottom. So I'll choose the RGB colour picker. That's that one there. Pick this dark colour and using a standard brush, bring the hardness down so I'm not painting solid edged lines on here. Let me see how that goes. Make that a bit smaller and just paint some of this into here. And again, get the RGB picker, pick a different colour, and then bring down the opacity, and I'll just kind of see if I can paint that together so it's less noticeable. Okay, that'll do just fine. Cheers Yapo, hello, welcome to the stream today. Good to have you here. I'm well today, how are you? How are you doing? Okay, so here's the rows. So again, Windows key, Shift and S. And you can draw a box, or if you change one of the options at the top of the screen, I can do a freehand, which might be better. Like that, and it copies that to your buffer, and then I can go to drawing number 1 and paste that in, hit save. Okay, I've also got my backup tool running back here, of course, that I always do when I'm running on projects. So it's saving versions to disk, so I can always roll back to a previous version if something goes madly wrong or if I want to see an earlier version. Okay, so let's do the same again. Grab the eraser. Its hardness is turned down, make the size a little smaller, and let's just erase the white from here. Yes, I hope you're doing well today, and hopefully finding time to get on with your own art and animations. As I often say, feel free to use this time while we're streaming to work on your own work at the same time. So it's kind of like a group team project time that we're all working on here together. So I'll make delete away the main parts of this. And then we go smaller and then erase up to the edge. And again, doesn't need to be perfect. We can cut into the edge where necessary. Because most of this flower will be over the plain background, which will have a bit of a tone as the original one animation does. It won't be white, but the tiny bits of white that I miss won't be spotted. So I'm working on these images in a separate project or in a separate scene first, and then I'm going to render out from this scene and import them into the next to actually do the animation with. I'm going to cut that off there. So this is kind of a staging area. Let's flip that over to the other side. A staging area just to create the images that I want to actually use in the final animation. Let's make this a bit smaller again. Excellent, Chijapo. Good to have you here. I saw you the other day on Dave's stream. He was doing some animation with, he had two different streams, one with his Salt and Light work and the other one for his Futurama fan project. There we go. I'll hit save. That's those two roses closed and then open. And so I can use them interchangeably, I want to make them a similar sort of size. So I'm going to resize this, but I'm going to resize it using the animate tool, which is non-destructive. So rather than using the selection tool and then highlighting it and just making it smaller, when I do that, all the pixels are reduced down to create this smaller size. And then if you try to resize it larger afterwards, it would look pixelated. So starting from the original, I grab the animate tool. I change this to be the all tool so I can edit the size and position as necessary. I want to have the second drawing not change size, so I'll add a key on there which will fix it to the 100% scale and the current size. And then we'll go to frame 1. I can then resize it, return the flip back, there we go, and then adjust the size of this and the position to match the opened up rows. So let's rotate it around there so it's the same angle as well. So again, this is one of the benefits of using it digitally rather than using cutout. You can use the tools to suit you, whereas if this were cutout paper, you'd have to get the two roses to be exactly the same size for it to look close to the same rose that's moving around. You're right there, Maria. There are some background removers. I've used one myself, online ones, which are pretty good. And they would save you some time if you're doing this a lot. There we go. So you can see the slightly two different hues. That's not a problem here, because what I want to do is to then apply some colour changes to make a kind of a single coloured rose to the original had. They've got a red and they've got a blue colour there. So how do we do that? Well, I had a practice the other day, as I say, to figure this out, and I had a little list of steps to go through. So I've got the picture first in OpenToonz. I've erased any parts I don't want and resized them so they match. Next, we're going to use the effects. So let's go to the animation or schematic, the schematic panel. That's pretty good. Go to the effects schematic by clicking the button at the bottom right here. And on the images column, I'm going to insert an effect. And I want to make the image first, I want to make it black and white. So I'll go to the image adjust and HSV scale. There are a few different effects you could use to create this one, but this is just one that I know works. So I'll double click on the effect, and then that opens up the effect window, which I will dock to the side. Let me unlock my rooms, and I can dock this to the side here first. Let's lock them straight after so I don't accidentally make a mistake. So to make it black and white, just bring down the saturation. Now if I turn on the preview window, you'll get to see how that looks. So it was originally here. Now bring this down to try and get black and white, and let's see how that looks for the two drawings. Not too bad. They seem a little pale, so I might need to increase something else. Maybe the value. No. Bring this down. Okay, so we might move that around a little bit. We'll play with that. Next, I want to add a colour overlay to make the red and the blue roses. And there's two ways to do that, two main ways. The first way is to create a new column and add a drawing with a certain image in there. But instead of that, while I'm on the effect, I'll use the effects and add a colour card. It's not something I use too often. Absolutely, it's frogs. Very nostalgic. It's a very particular style and look that we're after. And it starts off with the colour that we're adding here, and then it changes later with the movement that we'll add in. So we've got a lot of preparation in this first part of the project, but that'll pay dividends later. Okay, so I've got a green colour card that's being shown on the whole of the camera view, and what I want to do is I want to use that colour with an effect to apply the colour to that rose. So I'll choose add effect, and the one I want is in the layer blending multiply. That's the one. So I want to use a multiply effect between the two, in effect, the two columns, the colour card and the rose images. Feel free to try out the other effects to see which work for you. So let's plug in first the output of the black and white scaling in there, the colour card into the second one. So those two are now multiplied together. Plug the output of the multiply into the X sheet, and now you can see that rose is coloured this bright green colour. But to limit the colour only to the rose of the drawing you've added in, we can tick the alpha box, which applies that colour only to that rose. So let me take the original video here. I'm going to put this on my second screen so I can compare the two colours together. And then click the colour card, double click on the colour square, and I can adjust this colour and compare it to on screen. So the first one is going to be a red colour. And let's refresh this view as well for frame number 1. So regenerate frame preview. That's only applied to frame 2, which is peculiar. So let me go back and just double check we haven't set any keys for any of these. Now, why is that not colouring on the second rose? We'll come back to that, I think. We'll have to come back to that. There's the first one. Back to the drawing room. It's easier to see the timeline, I think. So the colour card is only shown in frame 2. Bring that over to frame 1 and extend it out. So it has actually added a column on the timeline here. So now I've got the same colour through both of them. Good. Okay, so that's the red view. I want to add another colour card for the blue, so back to the schematic. We'll add effects background colour card, and that'll create another column. And again, I want to use the same inputs and outputs. So I'll select on the multiply effect node, press Ctrl C, click away, press Ctrl V to paste it. Holding Alt, I can connect that up, plug in the HSV scale here too. And that's plugged into the output. Okay, so we've got two colours, red and blue. We only want to have one at a time, so we could choose just to hide one of the columns rather than the other, but instead of doing that, I think the best thing to do is to move them into their own separate columns. So I'll extend the first drawings up by a frame. Let's move that animation key over, and then do the same for the second drawing. So I use the first colour card in frame 1, delete it for frame 2, and do the same on the opposite side there. And then we'll check that everything's connected correctly. Back to the schematic. Okay. Yeah, from the animation view I can see the X sheet at the same time. That'll be an easier view to look at this. So let's check through all this slightly complicated layout here. So frame 1, let me just refresh preview 1, refresh the entire preview. Frame 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so they're now refreshed. So frame 1 is a red rose, so we'll name this colour card red. Frame 2 is going to be the blue colour card. I hope that makes sense. The red colour card is used on drawing 2, which is the closed rose. Then the blue one, we need to change the colour of that. And then the red one again for the second drawing. Okay. So again, let's bring the settings window and we'll dock that at the top there. So let's unlock that pane, dock it at the top, lock the workspace, and then we can resize things exactly as we need to. Okay, so there's the colour for drawing 2, so let's double click on the colour, and we want kind of a blue sort of a colour here. Blue towards a purplish colour. Again, I've got red, blue. I need to change this animation because it's changing the size to be constant interpolation there. So you just see the change of colour. And the second rows of red, and then that blue colour there. And I will change, raise this slightly because of the extra petals sticking out here. Turn off the preview mode. Don't know this feeling in my head. And just smooth it out a little bit. But like the monster in my bed, its eyes are glowing red, and it's telling me that I am nothing. There we go. That'll fit more what we're trying to do, and we'll bring this in as well. Okay, so slightly complicated what we was doing there. So let's just have a quick review. So frame 1, you can see the red column of the colour card is shown only on the closed image, which is the drawing number 2. The next one, still drawing number 2, but it should be showing the blue. That needs to be refreshed. Sorry, turn on the preview mode. There we go. Shows the blue rose. Then drawing number 1, which is the open rose. And that's shown using the red colour card. Frame 4, it's now using the blue colour card. So there's the 4 drawings that we want to use in here. Now looking at the original, I'll bring this over. You can see there's been some hand drawing on here. So we might choose to do that as well, which we can do. Or we may trace over the whole thing and redraw it by hand. But if we wanted to, we could just grab a brush, choose a black colour, turn that off there, and then add on some extra lines as the original had. And we can do that later, so we can take a look at that if we want to. So what we intend to do with all of this is go to the output settings, and we'll render these out as PNG images, so the background that doesn't have any drawing on it will remain transparent. We can give it a name, so we could name these individually as being rose or something else, flower, or just all images if we're going to use this one, the one scene for all the images we use for the different animations. I'm happy just to change this to rose for now, and then leave it at full size, frames 1 to 4, and we'll hit render. And that's done. Now on disk, if I go back to my backup program, I can open up my project folder that it knows I've just been working with. Go to the outputs, and there's 4 images of the 4 roses that we can use in our next scene. So let's create the next scene to add them into and start bringing this animation together. So we can do new scene from the file menu, but I prefer every time using the startup pop-up and doing a new scene from here. So this is going to be the introduction. Let's call it intro, leave it a standard HD size, create scene. Good. So I've got those 4 images. So the first thing I'll do is I'll bring those into the program, and I can just click and drag on one and bring it into the program. It'll import all 4 as an image sequence because of the numbering system where when you render out some images, it includes the frame number as part of each image. So bringing one in, it recognizes that this image is part of a sequence, so it loads all 4 into the scene here. Okay, so looking back, I need to see where my plan was to add these roses, ready to animate them in. And the best way I thought about doing it is I've already rendered out the storyboard images to image files. So if we open up the flipbook viewer, it's just one of the selection of viewers you've got. What I plan to do, I'll leave it floating, but we might choose to dock that later, is to load the images from the flipbook into the flipbook, so load images, and we can browse to where I had got my old introduction storyboard from. There's a storyboard in here, so go to the outputs window and you can see the storyboard images that I've rendered out. So if I select on that and press load, it'll load those 9 images that we saw earlier in the storyboard. This now I can see exactly where I want to draw these roses. So the first one comes up from the bottom left, just curl over and open up there. So that's the first animation we'll place in here. The next one will come up next to it and appear below. The next one comes from the right, curls around and appears at the bottom. That's a bit more tricky. So let's start with this one. So I'm going to start off by creating a Toons vector level, and this will be a hi there Norbel. Thank you very much. It's going to look, I think it's going to look pretty good by the end of it. I'm excited to get this animation completed. I really am. So I'm adding the vector level first, just to give me a guide layer of where I'm going to draw all of these rose petals moving along the path. So again, looking at the original video on the left on my other screen, over, the roses, they do follow the same path, they don't divert. So where the rose moves along, that's where the stem is drawn. And if I keep going to the right hand side and press the, here we go, I'm pressing the greater than key to move it 1 frame at a time. That appears off the screen. It draws the stem behind, and once the stem is drawn, it doesn't move it out of the way, so the rose head moves along the path of where that is, where the stem is. So that's fine. So that makes things a lot easier for us. Okay, so back in here, let's add a new vector level, which I'll call guide. Okay, I'm going to grab the standard brush. Doesn't need to be too big or small, that's fine. Click undo. Hit save before we go any further. And before we go any further, let me go to my backup tool and give this version a name. In fact, because of the different scene, it's starting off blank, so I'm going to leave that as it is there. Let's draw this guide then. So again, looking at the image on the right, I'm going to have this coming a little bit like that. And this one is quite straight as kind of a single line as a curved C. And using the control point editor, we can always adjust this, which is why I chose the vector level. Try and get it where we want to. We delete any extra points I don't need. I'm trying to picture the words coming out of here as well. So leave space for those. That's the first two. The next one comes round to there. So again, grabbing the brush, the rose in front of that, so it's kind of off the screen like that. So again, control point editor, delete the spare one, so we've got a start and an end, and you could just use the arc tool, I guess, for this to add in the line originally. And really you only want 3 points, the start, the end and the middle part, when we're dealing with a C kind of shape like this. That gives us space. We can always adjust this a little bit later on, as you'll see. And then from the right, we've got this curling shape. So it's a bit more complex. I don't think it's very accurate. Smoothing's fine. Just a bit more maybe. Okay. So you're coming in from the, just past the middle. Something like that. And the head again will cover this. So grabbing that control point editor, let's move some of these. To make this a nice smooth curve. Okay, so again that's just the guide. So to help us recognize that as the guide, I'm going to bring down the alpha so it's kind of a pale grey colour. Now lock that. I'll stop it from being rendered by unticking the I button on the left. And then we'll start to move these roses. So how are we going to move the roses? Well, I want to use the motion path tool to move them along the path, the rose heads. So I'll add that in first, and then we'll draw in the stem of the rose and use the matte effect to allow us to draw the stem and have another shape moving along the direction of the stem. But before we make this sort of change and get the animation moving, really, I want to make sure that the text can fit on screen. So I'm going to start another vector level, call it text. And let's put those words on screen and make sure there's space for all of them. So I'll press the T for text button. I did download a font to look at this style, which is kind of like the Monty Python style. Rover, yes, there will be a new version of Tahoma. I don't know when that's due to come out. I've not seen a date for it, but there's been talk of a new full version to include all of the fixes that have appeared in the nightly builds. So as soon as I hear something, I'll be announcing it on Twitter and Discord, so keep your eyes open there. Okay, so in the downloads folder, I've got it here. I've not got the font, that's elsewhere, unfortunately. Let me just remind myself what the font is called. So let's add the first word here. Look inside this, and I should be able to spot it. There we go. Cast Iron is the name of the font. So if you're interested in using this font, just search on the internet for Cast Iron font and you will be able to download that and install it to your system. Jose, hello, welcome. Good to have you back here again. How are you doing today? So I'm going to need to change the colour of this, so we'll do that separately. Okay, click away. And in a separate level, a separate frame of this same level, I'm going to add the next set of words, and it's animate, make sure I spell things right, and the next one, press Alt D, and press like, and the final one. So this will kind of lay everything out on screen so we know we've definitely got space for it. Monty Python. Okay. So I'll assume I can place that all, change the colour of it, so let's place it in the right position. So I'm going to click on the column header and press insert 3 times. Oh, I have to click again and press insert, click again separately. And we'll move each of these drawings into a separate column, so we can see them all at once and then place them individually. I'll name the columns after the text so I know which one's which. So T dash, how to animate. In fact, yes, animate should be in the same drawing as the first one. Because they appear together. So let's copy and paste that to there. So it's how to animate is the whole column there. The next one is like, and then Monty Python. Okay, so let's place these where we need to. So I'll use the selection tool to do so. So I want them to be slightly curved around, and we could do that in lots of different ways, but I'm going to do the most simple way that I can. I just move each letter kind of one at a time to create the rotation and the curve that we need. And again, this is something you could quite easily change after the fact. But I want to sort of show the whole process here. So again, animate needs to be slightly curved. So move the center point to where you want to rotate from. That's probably the best way to do it. And put it in the bottom right corner. Now I can just click and drag to add that curve around here. A bit tricky to see that center point, but we'll do our best. So slight offset of the rotation is all we need to get that nice curve. Okay, and then these are both kind of at a bit of an angle here. I'm looking where the rose heads might be. And then like, rotate them a bit, bring it down a bit, and again let's have a bit of a curve so they're not sitting too straight, just to make it look a bit more interesting than just straight text on here. They really are, Norval, really quite jittery, and that's one of the things I'll kind of want to highlight as I add the movement later, that they're not super smooth as we would get by using the tools inside of OpenTunes or other programs. Okay, and then the right hand side, Monty Python. Overall it's kind of coming down at an angle here. And again, to make space for it, I need to move the guide. So let's unlock that. And adjust the control points. And now if I adjust the text, I can bring this text over to the side a bit more. Again, I quite like to have them curved, so let's take a look at that. So first bring the Python out of the way, I think. And I keep saying Python like like I know my my American friends do when they talk about Monty Python. Rather than rectangle, let's do the freehand selection. It's a lot easier. There we go. So bring that out of the way, and then zoom in a bit so I can move the center point a lot easier. And then just add that little bit of a curve onto each of the letters. Yeah, I did experiment yesterday with the jitteriness. I'm looking forward to sharing that today. So I kind of wanted to get through a fair bit of this animation, not to completion, but enough for you to see most of what I need to achieve. So although I'm doing all of the letters here and, you know, everything from beginning to end, I'm going to branch off soon and sort of pick just one of the roses moving so you get to see the whole process for one of them. We're almost there with the letters adjusting. Last one, and then bring it together. Let's look at where the rose head will go. Something like that. That's not too bad. I think we've got just about enough space. We'll see as we add the roses moving soon. Can each of the character attributes be modified on the schematic view? Jose is asking. Which character attributes do you mean? Which values do you want to modify? So the text will appear at the end when the rose opens. We've got the position here. So now we can see where we're going to move the rose to. So we're going to have all the different rose heads. So we've got the red closed head, the blue closed, red open, and blue open. So we need a different column for each one we're going to use. So we're going to start off with a red and a blue. Obviously we're starting with the closed. So let me just open up the level strip so I can get to each of those as we need them. Again, let me unlock the workspace. I can lock these on the right. There, you can see all four roses here. I can get to them whenever we need to, so we'll relock the workspace like that. Yes. Oh, sorry. I read the word character and I'm thinking of an animated character like a rabbit or a person, not the letters, the characters, the text. No, you can't. I don't know how you can animate each individually, so it has to be done one at a time using the selection tool. There was talk a while back of adding animation for individual points or individual drawings or groups of vector drawings on the timeline. That I went so far, didn't quite get to completion. That would have helped. So no, I'm afraid not. There's no way to modify them one at a time. Okay, so let's create a different column for each of these flowers so we can move them as we need to. So we'll use column 1 first and we'll call this rose 1. I'll insert another column and that'll be rose 2, which will be the blue one. So I'll move that down here now. Okay, this one is rose 2. Hit save. We don't need those other 2 right now. So rows 1, let me have a look at the original again just to confirm how they do it. They do both come on at the same time. So I'll try the same here. We can always adjust it later. So rows 1, I'm going to use the animate tool to move that along, but I'm not going to just use the animate tool directly. I'm going to go to the animation or schematic room. I think I'll dock this in this room actually, so I'm not. Move this out of the way a little bit. Yeah, let's place it over to the side on my second screen. That might be easier, so it's not in your way. Okay, so I'm going to use the motion path tool. So go to the stage schematic view. And it's going to get quite busy at first, but I will use these sub X sheets. So I'll start with rows 1. So select the column and then press the path tool, motion path tool at the bottom right here. And that'll add a path. And then with the path selected, click on it to select it. We can draw the motion path on screen. So for rows 1, let's make this slightly larger so I can see what I'm doing. The motion path here will be the top row, so I'll just draw across the guide that we've got here, like that. And it tells me that I'm creating a motion path. The first time is a bit confusing of the question, but basically it's saying, you're creating a motion path, do you want to use the one you've created? You say yes. So now I've got a motion path, and immediately, because the path is associated to rows 1 column, you see the rows 1 drawing stick to the starting point of that path. So next go to rows 2, we'll add another motion path for that, path 2, and again with the brush tool selected, let's just draw along that path. It asks if you're sure you want to keep it, you say yes, and the second rows appears attached to that motion path. Now the drawing I've got isn't the one I want on rows 2, so I'm going to select on the frame and press the Q and W keys until I've got the rows here, so we can see the blue closed rows attached. I don't think you can, Norvan, just copying the vector line and pasting it. I'm not sure if you can or not, but I wanted to draw the guides first so I can see all of them at once, kind of in the one frame, to help me space them out, to place the text and get everything in the right place first. So using it as a guide was really useful for me in that case. Okay, so looking at rows 1 first, let's extend the drawings of these 2 roses and the guide, and we'll work out the pacing later, but for now let's just make it just over a second or so. Back to frame 1, bring down the playhead here. Okay, so rows 1 first, we want to animate that, so we use the animate tool, and we don't need to place it to move it along the path. The column is fixed to that path, so we change the motion type to position, and the position, instead of being an X and Y position, is now a percentage, and it's the percentage along that motion path. So on frame 1, I do want it at 0%, so I was clicking, sort of move it around, put it back to the beginning, so that's now at 0%. I can place it just off screen, might be better. And then you move to the last frame, and you click and drag along that path to the end, and you can see the percentage going up. Really 100% is the end, so I can click and type and press enter to get 100%, to get exactly at the end of the path. But one thing you see is the rose isn't facing the right direction. So if I go to frame 1, I move through the frames to the end, you'll notice the rose is facing kind of to the top right hand side rather than following the path and pointing in the direction of the path. And we can fix that very easily. At the bottom of the column in the stage schematic, you see this box at the bottom left. If you click that, what that does, that's trying to say, it'll change the view of the column based on the movement of the path. So it'll change the rotation automatically as it moves along the path. So if I scroll through that, you'll see the rose turning as it moves along. But its original position isn't quite right. So let's change the first rotation position with the standard rotation option to point to the path. And then let's move along. And you see it twisting and turning to face the position of the path up to the end without us adding any more rotation. It's the path that defines which way the flower is facing. And again, back to the original animation I'm looking at on my second screen. Once the rose gets to the end, it opens up and the text comes out. Let me bring that over so you can see what I can see. So it moves to the end, and then it pops open immediately with the text. So, after the very last frame, I'm going to extend that drawing and press Q and W, just W, to find the rose that's open. So we should see the rose open on the last frame. And we also want to show the words on that last frame. So again, go to frame 1, we'll bring the text Monty Python to appear on that last frame. Let's put the end marker. Actually, Monty Python's the wrong column. Get them rearranged. How to animate. So we'll bring both of those two down. I'll highlight the two first. And then we'll adjust the text to be, so we'll look at that in a second. These others will appear later. Okay. So let's do flower number 2. There's rose number 2. So again, click into the column. With the animate tool, I'm going to go to position and move this to the right position. Before we do, let's change the rotation so it's facing the right way before we start. There's the position. I'll click the button to change the rotation. For hover there, you'll see the tooltip saying toggle auto rotate along the motion path. Okay. And then on the last frame here, let's move this to 100%, and I'll just click and type in the position area 100. There. We'll make sure that's rotating correctly. So because I've set the 0 rotation position first, I need to adjust the rotation back. So the timing is exactly the same for both, so I might adjust that a little bit. But for now, let's just, again, get the action in the right drawings in the right place. So we want a blue open flower, so I'll click on that last frame and press W. And so we'll see the blue flower there. Extend that out a couple of frames. And now we can adjust the text and the path so they all align up clearly on this frame 32 here. So there's the original guide I'll show at the same time. If I use the control point editor, click on each of the paths, I can adjust them. So let's bring the text up a little bit so I can see where it's moving to. So I've actually drawn the path in the wrong place. It should be the second line. That's why it doesn't align up. We can change that quite easily by either redrawing it or using the control point tool. To adjust that to the new path there. Right, Let me just reload this because I made some changes. So I'll discard my changes and reload with the revert scene option. That's what I saved a second ago. So I've just actually altered, annoyingly, the guide drawing rather than the motion path. So let me try that again. So back to the guide, I'm going to put that back to where it was. One of them is over here, something like that. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so back to the path. I'll lock the guide so I can't change it again. Click on path number 2, control point editor, select on the path. Let's move this flower to the right path here. So now if we go down to where the flower opens and the text appears, I can adjust it to line up the text with that path. So it's a little bit too close to the text there, so I can move the text over or the flower back. I might do a bit of each. So again, click on path 2, and I can just adjust that. Change the angle of the final rows there. Bring this back a little bit. And just keep adjusting it until it fits what we're after. Okay, number 1, let's adjust that path as well. And this is one of the great benefits of using the motion path tool. You can just adjust it after you've added your drawings in the right place to really make sure they're in the right place. Like that. I need to change the height a little bit, I think, because they're a bit too close to each other. So I'll bring this one down, and then path 1, bring that up a little bit. Good. Okay, let's rewind that and hide those paths. Ooh, position 1 of rows 2 is just on the screen there. So let's bring that off screen like that. Save. Okay, let's press play. They're going quite quickly. And we want to change the pace that moves as well. It's not only going quickly, but the ease in and ease out, we want to consider how quickly that moves. So I need this to last for longer, so I'm going to hover my mouse over the X sheets here and go to full screen by pressing the single back quote key, which is to the left of the number 1, which makes the X sheet go full screen so I can adjust more frames easily on screen. I'll also change the zoom of this to show more frames. So at the top right here, I'll change that zoom. So instead of lasting for 36 seconds, or in fact up here 30 seconds or so, I'm going to hold the control key, select over everything, and then bring that down. Actually, it might be easier to use a different feature, which is the insert frame option. So in the X sheet insert frame option, I've mapped my keyboard shortcut Control Insert, so I can go to a frame before the end here and press Control Insert, and it moves the drawings and any animation keys and motion path keys with it. So I can just keep changing the timing of that really easily in here. Hit save and let's play that. Again, let's change the end play marker. Still going quite quickly, I think. Think about how slowly the original moved. So again, I'm trying to kind of match the feel of this. It's sort of hobbling over there. That's much slower than that. So again, click in the gap and insert some more frames. to make it full screen so I can see easier how many I'm inserting. I'll have to move it down the bottom here. 120, that's 4 seconds, I believe. Again, hit save, rewind, and play. Let's go to this last frame and set stop marker. Pop. It does ease in a little bit towards the end. They move quite slow before they pop. I think I want to change the drawing before, because it seems to stop and then change. There. That's quite slow. That's fine. I'm going to leave it like that and move on to the next one, I think. Yeah, as soon as I install a new version, Maria, I find I want to use the insert key shortcut as well. So I change it quite quickly to help me get into there and just start working a bit more efficiently with the program. Okay, so that's the first 2 roses. I've not done the stem yet. I'd like to do the other roses first before I do the stem. I'll probably take a break before I do that. So let me quickly see if I can get the other 2 roses done. So I've got a red and blue one there. The next one I was going to use another red. So back to frame 1. That's rose 1, rose 2 on the guide. Let's bring that text over. So those 3 columns are all for the first rose there. I'm going to do something nice and early rather than wait until later, I think, and highlight those 3 columns and then collapse them down to a sub X sheet. So we've got a single column for the first 2 roses. It might make it easier to manage the X sheets just by collapsing them down for each different animation. And the next one, even though it happens afterwards, I'll add it to starting from frame 1. So each set of animation will move from frame 1. That'll work a lot easier, I think. So let's go to the level strip, choose our rose level so I can see all of the levels here, and I want a red one, so I'll click and drag the red one into frame 1 of a new column. And this will be for the like. I did move the text to the bottom, so let's bring this back up to the top. Okay, I'll hide the second set of text so I can just see like here. Good, okay. So let's see where we want to have this motion path. Oh, I see path 1 and 2 are still shown here rather than that sub X sheet. Let me just step inside. They have still got the motion paths here, but they're also shown on the main timeline. It's a bit peculiar. I'll look into that and I might report that as a bug, so that's quite interesting. So I'll ignore those 2 for now. I won't delete them. There could be duplicates, but I won't delete them just yet. So column 3 is rows 3. But it's the second movement. But that's fine, it's rows number 3. And I'll use that column here so I can see which one it is. I will add on a motion path, grab the brush, select that motion path, and we'll draw the line in here. It's not allowing it at the minute. I think it may well have got confused because of the first 2 motion paths. So I think the best thing to do is to expand out. We hit save first. I'll press undo to try and undo that collapse into a sub X sheet. I think that may have confused this a little bit, and I'll move into sub X sheets later. That might be a better thing to do. Okay, so back to where we were. That's those first 3 columns is for the first rose, Again, let's drag in the red closed rows to frame 1 in the new column. This will be rows 3. And then again, let's add a motion path for that and see if I can draw this path in here. Okay, so let's edit the path instead. That's fine, that'll work just as well. So start it at the beginning there, move it to the end of that line and adjust this. Hold Control to add another control point to the middle. And adjust the shape of this. Hit save. We'll extend that to move quite slowly as well. Let's move it to start when the other flower ends. There needs to be a small gap in between, so I'll leave a few frames after it's changed to say how to animate and the rose has popped out. Let's go to the animate tool. Select on the path, position, start it at 0%, so I'll click in the box and press enter. Go to the end, move it to 100%, so it's at the end. And to make it easier to test this animation, I will click on the left bar of the level that's exposed here on rows 3 column. That selects all of them, and that allows me to right click in the column header and choose set auto markers, so it sets the start and stop marker to last for the time that level is shown. So I can easily hit the rewind button to go to the first frame where that level is shown and then press play, and you see the rows moving over that path. So again, I'll choose the rotation option, rotate the rows to point in the right direction, and now when I play, it moves along. So tick the box to change it to auto rotate, point it in the right direction, and it should turn to face there. Still quite quick, so again, I'm going to go to the full screen view, click in the gap and press Control Insert, just to add a bunch of frames in here, and then in fact let's click one more, go to this last frame and press the Q and W key, there we go, to get the red open flower to show the flower at the end with the text that will be showing. Oh, the auto marker, it's so useful, so useful. If you're changing between one column and another to work on different parts of the animation, just simply click on that bar to the left of the level that you want to look over the animation, right click, set auto markers, so select them all, right click, set auto markers, and now the markers are set just for the first level in that column, or again quickly change to the other column, and now I can move through those a lot easier. So it just narrows down where the play range is. Okay, let's play that second one. So it moves to the top and then changes into the open flower. I know, Rover, that people have had problems using OpenTunes or even Tahoma where their antivirus checker is having trouble with, it seems to lock onto the folders where you're saving your projects. So do be sure to set an exception rule to your antivirus checker to not look in the OpenTunes project folder wherever you save your projects. That can help for some people, I know that, so that's worth taking a quick look at. Let's bring the rows column to the next of like, where the text will appear, and bring the text down. Here we are. to show it at the end when the flower opens there. To last for those few frames. Again, we'll change the length of those, and then we'll move the position of this so it shows at the right place. But first, let's extend the drawings from the first animation, so they're still showing when the second one shows too. In here. Okay, so let's move the like using the animate tool, or the selection tool will be fine, to be honest. Sort of like that. We'll see how that looks. Bring it a little lower. Okay, and then let's get the final one done, which we'll use another blue. Let's have another blue rose. So again, selecting a rose level, and we'll see them in the level strip. And then the closed blue rose is drawing number 2. So let's bring that into its own column here. Move the columns over, and this is rose number 4. So again, let's extend these drawings so that they continue to be shown while I go to the 4th rose. And I need a fresh cup of tea shortly, so we'll take a short break in a minute. So rose number 4 column here, I'll press the path button, create a new path. The guide isn't currently visible, so let's lock that, bring that down here to show the guide at the end. And then we'll draw in the motion path here. Yes, we'll set that as the path. Use the control point editor, and then we'll adjust the path to fit our guide from earlier. And we can adjust that, as I say, to a different position quite easily. Okay, I'll bring this text down and set that properly in a minute, but let's put it below there first. Let me go to the full screen and then adjust these like this, and I can press Control Insert, Control Save first, then Control Insert to extend that to last for longer. And we'll sort out our timing properly in a minute. How do you do it? It depends on your virus software. I'm using AVG, so if I open that, I'll show you how I do it in my software. Okay, so here is AVG. So for me, what I do is I go to the menu and then settings. Then there's an exceptions area, and then you can set it in here. So all I need to do is add an exception, browse to a folder, and then tick the box, and then click add exception. So the folders I've got in here are my OpenTunes folders, a local folder for program files where I keep Tahoma and other things, and my whole documents folder where I keep my projects. So when I save to the documents folder, AVG won't try to scan the documents to make sure they're safe, so you need to be careful of which folders you exclude to stop your virus checker from looking at them. But it means it doesn't slow the program down from saving them. So by putting that exception folder in there, it does mean that they're not checked for viruses in any way, but the saving of the program happens very quickly and isn't interfered with by another program, which can cause the issues. Okay, let's go to frame 1 of this Rose 4, and using the animate tool, I will set the position at 0% first. I will tick the box to add the auto rotation. I can then change the rotation to match the path, the start of the path. And then if I move to the end, I can set the position to 100%, which is the end of the path. And I've changed the drawings by highlighting them and pressing W to get the blue opened up flower here. And then text needs to appear when it opens up. Let's go to frame 1 of the text, and I'll place the text using the selection tool in the right area with both sets of words coming out of the flower. Something like that. Okay, so again, I can click on the rows column here, then right click in the header, so let's select a separate one, then click in the highlighter, right click in the header, set auto markers, rewind and press play. Still quite fast, so let's go in between there and press Control Insert a few more times. It's easier in this larger view to spot how far we're going, so I can just press and hold them down to go through a bunch of frames like that. And again, bring the end marker down to that last frame, hit save, rewind and play that. Okay, so let's go back to actual frame 1 and set the start marker. Show the preview view of this. So let me change my preview settings. I'll shrink it down by 2, so I don't need it at full size. All of the frames, that's fine. Show the preview window, which always appears on the second screen. Okay, make this wider so I can't see less of other things. Let's play the whole thing, see how that looks. That'll do. That's timing will adjust a bit more as necessary later, but that's kind of the basics of showing the roses moving and presenting the text. So I'm going to take a quick break now, make myself a fresh cup of tea, and then we'll come back and I'll animate 1 or 2 of the stems for the roses so you can see how they are done. And then I think I'll call that the end of the stream. So we'll come back for about another half hour or so, half hour to 3/4 to get the stems working. So I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. See you soon. And welcome back. So we've got the basic movement of the roses. There's a couple of things I wanted to change about the movement before we go on to the stems. And thanks for the compliments, by the way. Yeah, the timing is pretty good. I'm happy with that. But again, we can come back later and adjust the timing by using the insert frame method to extend it, or the the control delete option to remove a frame that I've set up as well. So adjust the timing to match. Because one of the things I am doing is I'm using a different piece of audio with this movement, not the original, because that'll give me a copyright strike with YouTube, so I didn't use the original music. So that's something I need to adjust the timing for later, so we'll come back to that. So the first thing is something that we talked about at the start of the stream today, and that is that the original animation movement, as well as being slow, is quite jerky. So again, I'll rewind and play that, and if you look at the roses moving upwards, because they're hand animated, they're quite jerky when they move along. So I want to add a little bit of that jerkiness into the animation. And the first thing I want to do is I'll change the animation, instead of being on ones, so that's one movement per frame. So if I move one frame at a time, you'll see roses move on every single frame. And I'm going to change it to move on every third frame. And we do that pretty easily by right-clicking on the white line that's down the center, which is the main animation line. The one on the right-hand side is a line for the motion path, I believe. There's two different lines shown today. So I'll right click on the middle line, and if you hit it right, you get a different context menu, which is not showing, maybe because there's two paths. So we'll stick with the function editor doing it this way. And don't be scared of the function editor if you've not used it before. All we need to do is to find the columns we want to change. So rows 1 column, click on that, and it'll show lots of values in here. So it's the position path value first. Let me zoom out and you'll see a bit more detail. There we go. So you can see that on every frame the number is changing at this bottom left here, which is the actual position along the motion path. And that is moving using the speed in, speed out interpolation in steps of 1. So all we need to do is change the 1 to a 3 and click apply. And now, I don't know if you can see on your screen if it's quite small, it's every third frame the number changes. You can see the blue moving every 1 and the red rows moving every third frame. That's it set for rows 1. Let's click on rows 2 and do the same thing. Click anywhere on the frames in between the two keys, change the 1 to a 3 and click apply. And we'll do that for each of the roses. So rows 3, let's find that movement, click in between on a frame, steps of 3, apply. And I can see that value changing on screen, and you'll be able to see it on your own screen when you work on it as well. Okay, rows 4, go in between and change it to steps of 3, apply. Good, so let's rewind and change to the camera view here. We don't need to see any effects here, just press play. And now it's moving a little bit more jerkily as the original one did. I want to hide the guide, we're not using that anymore. The next thing I want to do is I want to give them a little bit of a shake. I don't know how this will look in the final version, but I want to apply an expression, which is something you may not have used yourselves while working using the animate tool. But expressions are amazing. They're really useful for adding a bit more life to the interpolation. So what we're going to do, let's start off with rows 1, hide the other expressions, and let's only show the position of the path. Okay, so if I select again in between the two keys, instead of going to a speed in, speed out interpolation, change it to expression, we can now add an expression in here. And there's lots of expressions to choose from. It's something I should perhaps make a video about sometime, but I need to learn a few more myself to be confident to make it clear for you. But today, the expression that I want, and I've got it written down to the side of me that I can read off. I think, is it written up there? It should be up there. No, but I can't. I think it's. Let me try and memorise it. Random. And as you start typing, you get a pop-up showing you all the possibilities you can type. So if you press any key in here, so A, you can choose those. B, bump. C, ceiling, cycle, etc. But I want random, so I choose random. So I can just click on that, I think. Yep. And then that takes 2 values. As I recall, I chose 0,10. And I believe one value is a minimum and a maximum value to move randomly in between. So I'll type that and press apply. Not quite that kind of expression, though, Val. Apple a day keeps Darren away. No, it's an expression of movement is what it is. So the random movement to move between 0 and 10 pixels. In fact, I've just realised I've done this in the wrong place. This is why I'm on live stream and it's not a video. Give me a chance to get things wrong. Instead of the expression, let me put this back to speed in, speed out and apply that. Leave it back to where it was. It's moving every 3rd step. Hit save before we do anything. I'm going to add a name to this. So before adding expression, so I've got a backup copy with that name in the backups folder. Okay, so I'm going to add a separate column for this expression. This is what I need to do. So I'll choose to add a level in here. You need to have a level in a column for it to work. A blank level. Choose raster level. Okay. I'm going to call this shake, for want of a better expression. And this, I'm going to parent the rows to that column by clicking on where it says table to parent it to shake. If you look at the schematic viewer, you'll see now that instead of the rows connecting directly to the table like the other columns do, it connects to the shake column. So this means that any movement in the shake column goes down to the rows column too. So it's the shake column where I want to make this expression. Okay. So if I go to the shake column, put a key on the first frame, and I want a key for the X and Y position. So rather than pressing the key button, which adds a key across all of the options, I'm going to the X and press enter. I click on the Y box and press enter. And now if I go to the shake column in my function editor and tick X and Y, I can see the keys there. And I want this to last as long as the animation does, or the rows is. So to frame 120, and again, I'll add a key there and there in the shake column. Do it in the function editor and just press enter. Okay. And now I want to add an interpolation, an expression, to be random between 0 and 10. Apply. You see some values appear in the function editor. And again, for Y, make you an expression, random 0 and 10. And 0 and 10 is just a figure off the top of my head. We'll adjust it later. First, let's see what that does. So rewind to the very beginning. So this should shake the column called shake between a value of 0 and 10, just moving it one frame at a time. And that then is filtered down to the rows column. So let's press play on that. And it adds a bit more movement into it, possibly a little bit too much. So let's just change the expression down. instead of being 10, let's make it 5 and apply that. Now all the values will be between 0 and 5. Save. So again, let me do the preview to get a slightly larger view. So it's should be not quite as smooth. It should be moving a little bit more. And I'll be applying that to all the other columns as well. Rows 2, I think that's moving at the same time. So to save messing, I will parent rows 2 to the same shake. So both of them will have the same shake about them. Just to get a bit of extra movement as they move around. So it's not quite as smooth. So we'll leave that as that for now. Let's do these stems. This is what I wanted to get to. So again, we've got the guide layer. I will show that because that just helps us to draw what we need to draw. Okay, so the idea is to draw the stem at the full length, almost like the guide layer is here, and then I'll add another level to cover the top of that stem and reel it across that same path, so the stem appears as the rose goes over it. So it's quite a lot to take in, so let me show you what I mean. Starting with frame 1, we choose the level type for that stem, so it'll either be a vector if you want a smooth line, or the toons raster level I prefer to use for most drawings. Let's name this stem 1. So need a separate stem for each rose. So stem 1 for rose 1. And the whole drawing will last as long as the animation for this stem. That's up to frame 354 currently. So rather than dragging that drawing using this handle here up to 354, instead I'm going to right click on frame 1 and then edit cell numbers and hit repeat. And just type in up to frame 354, repeat. So that drawing will repeat up to the end of the animation. So let's draw a stem over the movement for rose 1. To double check it's in the right place, I'm going to show the path here for the first one, and I want to adjust the guide to match that path. So I need to somehow match those together. This is where it's useful to have the guide set correctly in the first place and adjusted at the same time as the path. So choose the control point editor, and it's the first one here. So what I'm doing is I'm holding my finger on my tablet screen, so I'm changing from one to the other, and I'm putting the points where they appear to be. Yeah, that's that point there and there. I just need to adjust the handles to match. Okay, that's not too bad. That's okay, I'll stick with that for now. Let's just get the first one done so you can see exactly what I'm thinking here. Stem 1, then grabbing the brush, I'm going to change back to the drawing view just so it's a simpler view on here. And it's this left red rose that I'm drawing the path for. Let's start with a new palette colour. In the original animation, I bring that over. They've just kind of got dark lines, you can't really see much about them. So I'll make them a dark green colour. So let's show the green, make it dark, using this value slider, and we can adjust it later if we need to. That's why I like using the Toon's raster levels. So grabbing the brush, I want a fixed size, and it's got to be comparative to the size of the rose. So let's see, that's not too bad. I think I'll stick with that for now. And let's just bring up the smoothing, want it very high. And if you wanted, of course, you could just use the vector level for this. I'm thinking, would that be better to adjust it later? It may well do. I've done this one for now. Let's stick with this. Same principle for both of them. That's fine. The next, I want to add a matte covering to hide this line until it's revealed. So again, in another column, this is going to be column crazy today as the stem. I'm going to add another level. We'll use a vector level this time. I said before, I often don't use vector levels for drawing in, for general drawing of characters, but for things like lines and boxes and solid objects, the vector level is perfect. So we'll call this the Mat 1 vector level. And again, I'll extend the drawing. Was it 354? Edit cell numbers, repeat, up to frame 354. So it goes to the end. Now this needs to cover up at the very beginning. So let's grab this, and I will choose a rectangle to cover all that screen there. We might need to change things a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. And then choosing the fill bucket, I'll fill that in. I'll leave it as black, that's fine. I may well, to make this look a bit neater, add a motion path to match the other motion paths. Let me change down the opacity for a second so I can see what I'm doing underneath. So to Mat 1, we are going motion path crazy today. Let's have a motion path and draw it along the same path. And again, using the control point editor, we'll adjust this. We might need that to go further, so we'll look at that. I will have this motion path rotate around. So on frame 1, we'll add an animation key with a position of 0%. And then if I go to the rows, I can use this button here to go to the next key in that column, the ones below the viewer here, to go between the keys. Makes it easier to jump around. And then go to the Mat column, Mat 1, click on that frame and change the position to 100%, like that. And then we'll see if everything's in the right position. Okay, so back to key number 1. Zoom out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. We need to change the rotation as we did before. So go to the rotation option. Now we've set up the path with the positions. We can change the rotation here. I'm going to change the center point for this. It'll make it easier to move this around. Okay, back to rotation. I think I should have set the center point first. Yeah, bring the rotation back to 0. Let's see where we are. So let's use the selection tool because it is a vector object to bring this back to here. Make it quite wide. It needs to be quite tall, quite long. So hopefully you'll see how this works in general anyway. So starting at frame 1, it'll move along I've got it the opposite way around. I want it to be actually a matte in. Yes, this is correct, sorry. So starting at frame 1, we'll have this box move along that line up to the first position. So where the center point is could be quite important. Does that adjust the rotation? I'm not sure it does. Right, so where the center point shows that. Right, perfect. Now with the selection tool, I can make this larger. Back to frame 1. Hopefully you can see what's happening here. This big box is moving along that line at the same speed as the rows. And I'm adjusting it with the selection editor to change the actual shape of the box so it follows behind the rows. It doesn't need to overtake it. And then, hopefully with a bit of magic here, I will add an effect in the effects schematic. So click the button at the bottom right to go to the effects schematic. I want the stem one, the matte one node to be separate. I will add in a matte in. I was originally thinking a matte out, but matte in works really well so far. And I want to draw the stem, so that is the source. Plug that into the X sheet, but I only want to draw it where this matte one cube or the square is visible on screen. So if I hit save, go to the preview mode and press play to go forward a few frames, you'll start to see that stem appearing where that cube was, or where the square was. So if I go to preview view, we'll get a quicker, clearer view of that. And hit play. You should now see that stem appearing behind the rows. I need to make these full roses slightly lighter. They're quite dark there. So even though the top of the head of the rose is jumping around, the stem is made visible along that path. Let's do the same for the second one at the same time. So again, back to the drawing level. So for rows 2, I'm going to press insert on here. Okay, I'm going to add a vector level for the stem. So stem 2. I'll extend that drawing to the end of the animation. Repeat it to frame 354. Hit save. And then draw the stem here, which is a very simple one for the second one. It's the top line here. Undo. Add a palette entry first, make it that dark green, and we'll adjust the green later. Like that. Okay, this is stem 2. Keeping the columns named really helps a lot. I'm going to add another vector level, which will be matte 2. Name the column straight away. We'll extend the drawing to the end using the edit cell numbers repeat to frame 354. Then matte 2 again is another build box, and we'll adjust that later as we did with the first one once we got the path in place. So back to the animation room. Turn off the preview. Let's change again the brightness or the opacity of this box, and this only changes the opacity while I'm working here on the edit. It doesn't change the opacity for the final render because it's not really used in the final render. I'll add a bit of a colour as well so I can see it's different to the first box. Make this one blue. That's done. Click away, and For the mat 1, let's make you red, because that's for the red flower. That makes it a bit easier to see what they both are. Okay. So for mat 2, in the stage schematic, again, let's tidy up the schematic a little bit. So I'll go full screen by hovering the pointer over the schematic, pressing the single back quote key, and let's just readjust this and move things around a little bit. So we've got the first set of roses here, and then the first mat. Bring that, and then we've got the second mat here. Got stem 1 with the mat, and stem 2 down here with this one. I want to create a motion path here under the second mat. Go back to the regular screen, click on the path, choose the pen, and let's draw the path which is going along here. Yes, we'll use that motion path. Choose the control point editor, select it, and let's just make it fit the path here. We'll adjust that again later as necessary. Okay. So now we've got the path set on the mat and it's all attached through there. It's the blue box here. I use the selection tool to place this in the right position. In fact, let's just set the rotation correctly on there. And then let's place blocks where we need it to be, down here. So it starts off there. Let's add some animation to this to move it along that path. So choose position. Frame 1, it is 0%, so press 0, press enter. That adds a key. Go to the second row's column here, and then go to the end key by clicking the button at the bottom. Go back to the mat. The position is then 100% at the end, just there. And now we can start to adjust the actual shape that moves along that path. Let's go into frame 1. And then it'll move along here. It's not quite long enough there, it's a bit short, so we'll just adjust that. And all we're going to do is move along and make sure that it doesn't show any of the stem until it's got to it. So the actual path isn't matching the motion path for the rose. So let's look at the roses path for rose number 2, which is there. That's where I need this path to follow along. So I need the stem, at least side by side, it'll be easier to select them. This is where it's handy to have the guide correct at the beginning. So change between the path of the rose head and the actual guide I've drawn. Okay, that's pretty much there, I think. So again, let's look at the mat, make sure it follows the path. Yeah, that's, ooh, it's got in the head there. Right, so the movement needs to match the same pace. So again, using the selection tool, something like that. The ending, at the start, it goes a different pace. So I might need to change the function editor graph to get the pace working correctly. Otherwise, I chose the preview. I've not set up the thing yet. But you'll see the stem when you shouldn't, basically. One thing that might help is changing the pace to move every third frame so it's actually more accurate to what we're looking at. So we're looking at the mat 2 position here. So let's change this to a 3 frame step like that. Okay, let's see how that moves. So it falls behind, catches up, and then it goes ahead. So it's using speed in, speed out for mat 2. Let's make sure they're both shown on the function editor so I can compare the two then. Then we've got the rows number 2. Rows number 2 position as well on the path. Okay, let's see what we've got for these two. So both set to 3s, and they are both set to speed in, speed out, but you can see the handle here is different on both of them, which is the pace. So if we show the graph view for these, you see them looking slightly different. And you can see them how they drift apart, back together in the middle and drift apart again. So the easiest way is to change the figure here. So the rows position is correct, the speed that's going. So its handle is 10, 0% and 10 at the end. So let's change the mat to be 0% and 10 for both of these. And then that should be, oh, I didn't click apply, and that should match these up to the same speed of movement. Apply, hit save, and then look at the graph view, and now you should see, although slightly offset at the beginning, they both basically follow the same pacing for the movement. So let's see how that looks. It starts off at the very start of the rows. I might need to adjust that a little bit. It should be following the right pacing now up to the end, which it is. So what I'll do at the end, view here, I will bring the 100%, there's been 100% there at the end. I'll bring it back a little bit, so adjusting the position like that. So again, it's a matter of slowly just changing what you can see on screen and the pace that things move. This is the sort of thing you don't normally see on a live stream. It's not exciting, it's not interesting, but it's what's necessary to make your animation work. Thank you, Double O. Appreciate that. Glad you could join us today. Really am. Unfortunately, no, not on YouTube every week. Today was kind of a one-off special to start off my live streaming. For the next few weeks, I'll be streaming on Patreon for the tea mug and teacup tiers over on Patreon. So feel free to take a look at that to see if you're interested in joining me over on Patreon. Obviously, the price will be different depending on where you are in the world. Take a look at what the rewards are and see if there's something you might be interested in. But for the next few weeks, I'm going to stream the rest of this animation, and I'll be creating another couple of animations for this same tutorial project as well on Patreon. But I'll be popping back onto YouTube from time to time for those that can't join me over on Patreon. But thanks for joining me today, Double O, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. So that's matching the start. I just need to make the box large enough to continue to show the rows at the end. Brings back a bit more. Using the selection tool, I can just resize this box to be very, very big. Yeah, it is good to be back here on YouTube and doing some more streaming. Okay, that should be about right. So back to the FX schematic. Let's make this full screen again so I can see what I'm doing. That's the stem 1, mat 1. And I want stem 2, mat 2. And again, I want the mat in, so I can just copy that. So I can select it, press Ctrl C, click away, Ctrl V. Holding Alt, I can connect it to the source, which is the stem, and then plug in the mat. And remove any other additional connections to the X sheet so they only go through the mat. That means you'll only see the stem where the mat is visible on screen. So again, let's go to the preview window, rewind, and then take a look at that. Okay, so I just need to do the same for the other roses. And then we need to add the leaves. So what I'll probably do is I'll add the leaves now, just to show you how I plan to add them. And I'll do the stems off stream later. Thank you, Norval. Appreciate that. Hope it's been useful to some of you to see some of the different techniques I'm using here today. It's ended up being quite complicated. Quite a few columns, quite a lot in the stage and FX schematic, but hopefully going through it step by step, it's been quite clear what I've been doing here. Okay, look at the original. Let's bring this back on screen again. So as the roses grow up and you see the stems, leaves just appear by random as they move. They don't grow out, they don't get larger, they just go pink, pink, pink as they appear. So you can draw them in manually. I'm going to create a couple in a different level. We'll pop those on screen. So I'll do that now. And that'll about finish us for today's stream. And then we'll finish off next week, as I say, over on Patreon for the members to take a look at over there. Let's go back to the drawing view. Give me a simpler view to look at. Now I've got the mats working for the first two roses. What I'm going to do is click the button on the right here to hide them from this view to give me a simpler view as I'm looking and editing this animation. So we want some leaves, they'll be sitting at the front. So I'll come towards the top. In fact, if I go into stem 1 here in that cell and click to add a leaf. Now I'm not going to use the vector level because it'll involve using the fill tool here, and the fill tool on vector levels for me doesn't quite work right, so I'll stick with drawing them by hand using a Toon's raster level. Leaves. Okay. Again, I'll create all of the leaves in a single column, I think. Might be useful. Let's start off with one and see what happens. So grab the brush, zoom in a little bit, pick a palette entry, make it like a very dark green colour down here somewhere, and again we can edit that later, so don't worry about it being the correct colour now. Bring down the size of the brush. I'll have a bit of size adjustment. Looking at the rough size on screen, and again on my second screen I can see the original, so I can see roughly the size of the leaves that they use. Let's just draw them in the middle of the screen here, and they are just kind of that shape. It's quite small and a little bit down the middle, and the lines along them. And of course I don't need to match what the original looks like. Just do my own interpretation. Okay, and then another colour, we'll make this a lighter green, and using the fill bucket, I'll click and drag, undo that second, because a setting wasn't quite right. want the fill to be areas only. I can click and drag to change that and fill those. Make this lighter. I've already filled the line, so again, fill the lines back to colour 2, and then colour 3, I will fill just areas. There we go. We got there in the end, everyone. Actually, let's change that to the freehand to get those little corners completed. Okay, and now we can see that I can adjust the colour to make it where I want it to be. Yeah, we might make more changes that later. Not a problem, we can do so. So let's place these leaves in the right place. I'll make the timeline quite small. And I want the leaves to appear at different times through the animation. Let me go to the camera view only. Remove any distractions, hide the guide. So it's after the rose goes past, I want the leaf to appear. So let me insert a new column, and I will select that drawing, press Ctrl C to copy it, and we'll place it in the right place. On screen, let's make it last longer. Then use the animate tool to place it where I want it to be. There. So back to the first frame, with the animate tool I can place that on here. Let's choose the all option because I can rotate it at the same time. I will also change my default animation type right now to be constant. Trying to think if that's the best way to do it. It might be worth just copying and pasting them onto a single. There's not many leaves appear anyway, so let's not worry about that too much. I can always come back and change my mind later. So I've got a leaf here. I do plan to collapse these down to a sub X sheet, so it doesn't matter really how many columns we have. So that's one leaf here. Really, they should be done in the same order. So this is rows 1, so this should be on the left hand side. There. Okay. I think I'm going to add a couple of columns for all of these leaves. Is the best way to go. So again, I'll copy that drawing. Let's make this smaller. I'll move along the timeline a bit more. Looking at rows number 1, and just here, I'll paste another one. And using the animate tool, pop it that side. Extend that out. And then again, as it goes forward, I'll add another one here. And use the animate tool to place it in the right place. The second one, let's flip this round, I think. So going to the horizontal, I'll press the flip button. Make sure I'm in the right column. So I'll flip that one over to the opposite way. There we go. Right, and now the leaf will be drawn from the opposite side, so it looks slightly different to the others. And then these just want extending all the way to the end. There. So again, let me preview this. reset view, so it's 100% zoom here. Rewind and press play. I'll go to that leaf in a second. Good. Okay, so I need the leaves on the second stem. We'll complete that and then I'll leave it just there. Let me delete unused columns. Remove empty columns, just to go to that column I added earlier. The leaves column, I will use that one for the second row. So let's bring this up here, behind the stem, and we'll adjust the columns separately later. And this wants to be moved along here somewhere. And let's find out where we want the second set of leaves to go. So it goes left and then right there. So again, using the animate tool, I will place that in the right place I want, just here. I'll have another one here, so again I'll insert two columns, paste that one there. Using the animate tool, let's place him on the same side.
Traces of your wall hunt me down inside.
Let's squeeze a quick one in, just here on the opposite side.
But I'm stuck on you. You make me feel like a fire. You make me feel like a kid.
And the positioning, we can change that around as necessary. Okay, let's drag these over to the end frame. Let's see how that looks. Again, using the preview window, it's a great way to take a look at these animations in full. So quite a few leaves there. I might have to reduce them. It's quite a lot. And then we just need to add the third rows and the fourth rows. And the mat for the fourth row will be slightly more complicated because of the loop-de-loop that it does. And one thing I want to change is the colour of the text. Let me quickly see if I can put that together. So where's text one, which is how to animate? It starts here. So I'm going to just add a bit of a yellow hue to this. So again, go to the schematic. And let's find the text, how to animate, choose that one, and check it's the right one. You can press the button here to show and hide that column. I'm on the FX schematic, so I want to add again a colour card for this. And we could have done this in that other level, the other scene we created at the very beginning, where we organised the colours of the flowers. I'll do it in here because the text is kind of local to this anyway. Okay, there's a colour card. I'm going to turn on the colour preview, or the preview of the animation. I'll change the colour of the colour card here to be a yellowy kind of colour. Let's leave it like that for now. And I want to use the multiply node in the layer blending as we used earlier to multiply those two inputs together. Connect that to the X sheet. And if I double click on the multiply node to its settings, I can then click the alpha button. It'll only change the colour where there's some text. That's not quite what I need. I need to be inside. Oh, that's a tricky one. Maybe I need to use a matte because it's got a blank on the alpha. I might need to leave that colour, have a think about that and come back to how that looks. So for now, I'll delete the link to the colour card, so it's not even in there to be easier to look back at next week. So again, let's take a preview of what we have so far. I'll hit loop play to follow that through. So the leaves are looking a little bit neat, so I need to mess those up a little bit. So I'll change how they're drawn, I think, a little bit on there. Maybe add a bit of texture to them, so I might need to change them from being Toons raster to standard raster, so I can apply a bit of gradient on the edge, possibly. I'll have a think about that. Need to add the 2 stems, so the 2 flowers moving. We know how to do that now. That goes pretty smoothly. I like the jitteriness of the first 2 roses, so I need to add that to the next 2. I've already added the interpolation is going to move every 3 frames, so I need to make that fewer frames, I think. And that's pretty much there. Need to change the background. Need to add a background, so let me quickly throw one in. Does no harm to do that right now. So let's go to any frame, starting at the bottom might be easier, and add a standard raster level. Call it BG for background. Move it to the bottom. Name the column here. I think I'd need to actually fill them, Maria, the letters, so there's some fill in the letters. So I think I'd have to actually apply a fill. And that's probably what I did before, to be honest. And it's the fill that I want to change the colour for. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Just here. So let's grab the fill bucket, add another colour, and it is using the vector level, so the colour fill might not necessarily stick, but let's start with this. We could actually fill with yellow rather than using the colour card as well. Make sure we're filling only areas. Hit save, make sure we're filling only on those. So be careful what I click on. Yeah, I think this will work just fine. On the original, they have got a mix of dark and light. Again, let me bring this in so you can see. So half of it is filled dark and half light. So let me try and match that. I want to try and stick as much as I can into OpenToonz though, Tom, rather than rendering out to Critter. I could easily just render to a PNG anyway in OpenToonz, but I want to try and stick with this, see how far we can push it and how far we can make things work to yeah, that's fine, to work just inside OpenToonz. I thought about adding a layer underneath, like a Toonz raster level, and colour only in there. Maybe matting gradient onto the letters, that could work too. The only thing is a bit trickier with vector levels to do so. Let me colour this in for what we've got so far in here, and now I need to use the brush to sort of fill in an edge of where to fill here too, like that. Not sure why that's spilling over there, where it thinks is an issue. Let me try in black. It's the grouping, isn't it, again, so I need to draw there, bring down the smoothing actually, and then I need to, which is a bit fiddly doing it this way, and then group, and now if I fill in the dark colour, that ought to fill in one side. Ooh, it didn't work. This is why I don't like using vectors, because you always get this kind of an issue. Again, I may need to come back to some of this to complete it off. See if I can do any of these, and then if not, I'd have to come back to it. Group, and then fill. Yeah, still over goes to that line, which is really annoying. But again, this is why I don't like using vectors. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. Let me adjust the yellow to be not quite as bright. Just start on there, at least. I'm going to come back to my background. And see if I can quickly paint this in. Again, the stems, I might leave them turned off for this view and let them just be rendered out. So stem 1, stem 2, so I can't see them at the beginning. Let's see. Okay. Again, I'll look at the original, and it's kind of an orangey yellow. I want to see if I can try and again replicate that on here or not. Okay, maybe a little lighter. Fill bucket first, just colour that in. Try and hit roughly the colour I can see on screen. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, then grab a My Paint raster brush. I want to use the spray brush a little bit, and then we'll choose a few different colours. We don't need to create a new palette entry for each colour, but it's handy for nipping forwards and backwards between colours so you know what colour you're actually using. So this one I want to be slightly darker, a bit more saturation. With the brush, it's quite large yet. Okay. I just want to have a bit of texture on screen. If I change my preferences to make sure I don't create new drawings, so in the drawing tab, enable creation in hold cells isn't ticked, which means if I go to the very last frame and re-show my stems in here so I can see where they're going to be as well. And I could move the guide to the end so I can see that at the very end. That might be a useful thing to do. But yes, adding a gradient for the text there, that'd be something interesting to try and do. Okay, and if we come to the last frame of the background, I can now see where everything will be on screen, and then apply my colour as necessary if I think it should be there. I'll duplicate that. Again, choose the My Paint brush. I don't know why it doesn't remember that when you duplicate. Obviously it would. Go a little bit darker, just to add some more background. Again, to try and keep it textured slightly. It doesn't need too much in here, so it's not too plain. And then I'm going to grab a separate brush, go to My Paint raster, and try and choose a blending brush to blend it together. You could use an effect to add a blur effect on there as well, but let me try and do it on screen first rather than relying on the effects for that. That's a grainy blending. Trying to remember which one is the blend, proper blend brush. In fact, if I show the search bar, if I type in blend, there we go. I forgot about the search bar, one of the new features in 1.7. Really, really useful. I'm trying to keep out of the effect for this one if I can, but you're right. Radial gradient and then matted into that. That could be useful. Let me try with one of these, see what happens first. I want to create a... Let me try that, a large one. I just want to make sure I don't see the edges of what I've got on here, so it's not going from light to dark too closely. That's quite a severe blend. Let me see if it's a softer one. What's that one called? Grainy blend? Just blend. That's the grainy one I had earlier. Grainy blending. Look at that. Ah, I see. Yep. Not sure which of these I prefer, to be honest. So the middle of the light to dark gradient is centered at the middle of the letters. Yes. The thing is, it has to be quite a subtle gradient. I'm looking at the, again, let's bring the original out here. Trying to mimic this exact look as closely as I can. They've got one colour at the bottom and a different colour, a darker colour at the top. Because it's such an old film, it's on, was it 720? No, 360 is the quality. So it's not a very crystal clear view of the colours and the lines in here. So you can't quite see what the original should have looked like. But yeah, I might have an experiment with that, a little play with that. That'll be next time, I think. A question here from A Candle. You've got 4 GB of RAM. Will OpenTunes work good? No, not really. I can't remember what the recommended amount of RAM is on the OpenTunes website. Ideally, really, you want to have 16 or 32 gigabytes. However, OpenTunes is free. You don't have to pay to try it out. So download it and give it a go is what I always say. Find out how well it works for you. So it may also depend on, you say you've got Pentium 4, what your graphics card is and other settings. But if you want to join me on my Discord server, you can find a link down below in the description here. Over on the Discord server, there's a list of things to help you make the most out of OpenTunes, some settings to change. So it might be worth taking a look at that. Quick question, Tom. Are you thinking about a gradient for each individual letter or for each group of letters? So when you're saying center it at the middle of the letters, do you mean in the center, for instance, for how to animate just here, or in the center of each letter? Because you're right, you go to the settings here for the gradient and you can change exactly how it fits and where the beginning and ending is. It depends, Kendall, which software what you're trying to do. Is it animation or drawing? The animation, you could try using Krita, Krita. Give Krita a try. But as I say, both of those two programs are free, Krita and OpenToons. So you want to try them both out and see if it'll work for you. Ooh, good point. Vector fill each letter. Let's take a look at that. So here we are, how to animate. There. So if I add a new colour, go to the Vector tab. Let's try the standard gradient first. Okay, we've got two colours, so we're going from a yellow to like a dark yellow. Just to see how it goes for a second, let's go to the fill tool, the fill bucket, and that's that filled in there. Make that much darker and see if we can see where it is. So smoothness, make it not smooth at all is what I always like to do first to find out where it is. Get the X and Y position centered, change the angle like that, and then increase the smoothness left to right, or if I change the angle to be sort of horizontal to a letter, I could do top to bottom with a tiny bit of gradient on. Might be type 7, 6. That's quite nice. The only thing, of course, if I choose that fill for all of them, the angle is going kind of sloping up to the right, and I want it to rotate around, so I need a few different ones. But yeah, that's quite nice. Quite like that. And if I filled that one with that colour, see the angle comes off there, so I need to duplicate it. Well, let's try the radial gradient, as you said, see how that looks. Choose settings, fill that one in there, change the colours to be a dark yellow. Again, get the smoothness to 0 first to see where the centre is. Yeah, you've got to move the centre position a little bit, but it's not the same for every letter. Yeah, that's an interesting look. Yes, might need to do so. Style per letter. I quite like that. Again, I can't tell how the original looks, if that should have if that has a gradient or not. But I do like how that looks. It gives us a good effect. I'll zoom out a little bit. And although I didn't want to, let me throw a quick effect onto the background. Let's find the background in the FX schematic. Just to blur all that together. A certain effect, blur blur, just standard blur, so it's not quite so messy. And then make the value quite large. But not so large it all makes it one colour. So I've got a range of colours on the background there. No, unless you can duplicate in a different way. For most colours, you click a new palette entry and it duplicates the colour. But if you've got a My Paint brush in there or a vector fill style, it doesn't duplicate it. Maybe if you copy, Control C, click in here and then Control V. Yes, that duplicates it. Okay, and then you can adjust the settings for the next letter. Again, I need to sort out this grade the the separation between the top and the bottom part. So I need to come back and sort that out. Do you know when OpenToonz was released back in 2016? No, I do not. I can't remember. Did you know OpenToonz was released? If you're asking when exactly in 2016, I don't know, but it was in 2016. I know that. Yeah, I do like that, Maria. You're right. I do like the feels of that, but I need to do it one letter at a time, which I'll do separately. So again, let's just finish off here because I'm about to break off. I think I need to get some tea. In fact, that's a smaller preview. So let me go to a full size, so shrink of 1. Hit save, and then preview. It's not all completed, obviously. Make this as large as I can. Right click and fit to the window. I need to add the other stems and the leaves, and I'll make a few changes to that, so we'll jiggle with that next week, but let's see what we have so far. Yeah, I need to change the colour of the leaves a little bit. The timing's not too bad, but I might adjust that a bit more. We'll see how, once I've added everything else in, how the timing seems to fit and how it fits to the music. Chijapo, hello there. So the brush tool and the paintbrush tool, there are details in the online guide. Just tap F1 in OpenToonz to see that. Basically, depends on which level you're in, but the idea is the brush tool is for drawing lines, so the outside line of your character or object, and the paintbrush tool is for colouring in the inside. So on these leaves, the outside of the line and the lines inside, I use the brush tool in a Toonz raster level, and the inside I use the paintbrush tool to fill them in, effectively using the paint bucket, but same as the paintbrush tool. So I can show you that very quickly, happy to do so. So if I go to one of the levels here, let's see which one. Yeah, I'll just grab that one for a random level to play with. I've hit save now. So before we go any further, I can do that. Using the standard brush tool, I'll pick a black colour and I'll draw, never know what to draw at times like this, but let me draw a big smiley face. Turn off the smoothing a second. Okay, and now if I use the paintbrush tool and choose a light green colour, you've got a choice of what to paint. So you can paint the lines. So if I zoom in a little bit here, make sure it's really clear. So I can choose to paint the lines. As I use the paintbrush tool, I paint over the lines. So it's just applying paint. That's why it's the paintbrush. I'll undo that. Or I can paint just areas. So it paints behind the line, so it doesn't touch the black line. Undo that. Or lines and areas, basically paints over the top of all lines and areas. So you want to use the paintbrush tool most of the time in areas mode. So you can paint inside here. Went over the line a little bit there, but let's just quickly throw that in. And then I'll choose another colour. Let's make it white. Make this smaller. And I can now paint the area inside the eyes. It makes sure that you don't go over the lines there, you just paint within the area. Basically the same as using the paint bucket tool to paint within the lines, but you're doing it by using a brush over the top of them. So I hope that makes it a little clearer for you. Shake the camera, yes. No, Rover, it's almost unlikely they'll allow you to import 3D models. But the best thing you can do is to export or render from a 3D modeler to render to a PNG image sequence, and you can import that image sequence into OpenToonz. That works perfectly smoothly and works really, really well. So it's worth doing that to get the correct viewpoint from a 3D view, or if it's a standard a single view of the camera view, so it doesn't move, the camera doesn't move, render out a single image as a PNG and import that into OpenToonz. Yes, rendering, shaking the camera, I like that idea. Again, let's bring in the original. I mean, the lines, if you look at the lines or the stems, they're not moving too much, but there's a bit of movement. There's also some spots of flashes of old film kind of look to it. I'm not sure if I want to do that necessarily, but potentially we could. Yeah, okay. I'll have a think about that, Tom, shaking the camera. I'll make a note in a second, but I'm going to end the stream here. I think we've got everything I want for the stream today. I've got through quite a lot considering what we've done today. So I'm really happy with how that's come out. Let's just render this through again. So I'll let you imagine the music in your own head. I won't sing along to it this time. Yeah, absolutely, Rover. If you can use a 3D animation software, then do so, but just render out to a PNG image sequence and you can import that to OpenToonz quite comfortably. That's it for today. I'll end the stream here. So as I say, for the next few weeks, I'll be over on Patreon. So if you're already a member of Patreon, then hopefully I'll see you for the next live stream. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it next Sunday, then you can always watch it, rewatch it following the link that I'll be sending to you on Patreon, on the Patreon site, and through the emails, so you can watch it later. But if you can join me live, it'll be great to see you there. And if not yet a Patreon member, then do take a look at the Patreon page, link down below, and consider joining me and then joining me for the next few streams. I hope to be here on YouTube in a few months for another live stream. So we'll see how things go over the next few weeks, working on completing this animation and the other couple that I want for this particular tutorial. And then I'll let you know, as I say, over on Twitter and on Discord when I'm next going to be live publicly on YouTube. Absolutely, Tom, it does, yes. Yeah, there's some shake. I added some shake to the roses moving, the first two roses moving. I need to add some to the rest as well. And as you say, add some shake to the rest of the scene is another addition to add that authentic look. It's been great to have you here, Chizapo, and everybody else. It's been a fun stream today. Good to be back after all these months. Things seem to have gone fairly smoothly, so I'm happy with how that's gone, and we've got a bit of an animation out of it. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time when we do some more live streaming. And that's a Darren Tea. Have you always wanted to animate but didn't know how to start, and software seemed expensive and difficult to use? Well, with OpenToonz, it's free, powerful, and once you know how, it's easy to use. And it's my mission to get you animating with it today. Hi, my name's Darren, and I've been teaching OpenToonz for the past 3 years, showing thousands of students just like you how easy it is to animate with. I'm cutting through the jargon to show that anyone can animate with it. And by the end of the course, you'll be able to animate traditionally using OpenToonz. And the course is designed for students brand new to OpenToonz, as well as those new to animation. So take a look at the free lessons I've offered below, and then why not sign up and join me animating traditionally with OpenToonz.